Excellent. Okay, folks, welcome. This is the Board of Finance regular meeting, July 22nd, 2026. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, folks. So we've got a busy agenda. We're going to do public speak first. I see we've got Scott, Joanne, Shannon, and Kate. So I'm just going to go in order of what's on my screen. Scott, you're up first.
Just here to listen. Thank you.
Great. Jody, you're muted.
Just listening.
Excellent. Joanne,
Hi, just listening also. Thanks.
thanks. Shannon,
Ditto.
indeed. Caitlin,
Just wanted to ask when the auditor gives his presentation, if we will be allowed to ask questions as members of the other boards. And if not, then I'll probably ask questions at the end in your other public speak. Thank you.
yeah, I think it's reasonable, since we have members of the Board of Ed here, including the chair, that, as we go through this, after the Board of Finance has gotten through what questions we want to ask, that I can kind of bring you into it. That would be my thought. Okay, I think that's every community voice, obviously recording the meeting, but I think that's everyone from the public. So let's see. Additions, changes to the agenda. Does anybody have any proposed additions or changes? Anybody want to add or subtract anything?
I do not.
Okay. Very good. So we'll move on to our audit presentation. Michael, you're up, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Just give me the thumbs up that you can hear me okay.
Thumbs up.
Perfect. All right. I'm also going to share my screen. I assume I have the ability to do that.
If not, Jeff can give it to you. I believe.
I just sent a request.
There you go.
All right. Just getting my screen set. All right. Everyone can see the presentation?
No.
There it is.
You can see it now?
Yes,
Yep.
it took a second.
All right, perfect. All right, well, thank you very much. Again, my name is Mike Van Deventer. I'm a partner at Mahoney Sable, ultimately responsible for overseeing the town's fiscal year 2025 audit. This evening, I will go over really the scope of work, the audit reports that were issued. I'll provide some overall financial highlights, and then I'll make our required communications. And again, certainly happy to answer any questions that the board members may have. As far as the scope of work, again, no changes from what's been done in prior years. We did do an audit of the town's financial statements. We performed that audit in accordance with both the auditing standards issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, as well as the government auditing standards issued by the Government Accountability Office. In addition, based on the level of federal and state funding that was received and expended by the town, we did perform both federal and state single audits. In addition, we also performed agreed upon procedures on the end of year school reports that are required to be filed with the State of Connecticut Department of Education. In addition to those attest services, we do perform some non-audit services for the town. So again, we assist in the preparation of the financial statements, as well as the schedule of expenditures of federal awards and state financial assistance, and then the related notes. We also assist in converting the town's governmental fund financial statements to the government-wide financial statements. Although we do assist in these non-audit services, again, they are the responsibility of management. Management is responsible for the fair preparation of the financial statements, the schedules of expenditures of federal awards and state financial assistance. Again, it's our responsibility to perform our audit procedures and express an opinion on those schedules. In connection with the audit, we do issue a number of reports. In terms of the report on the financial statements, we did issue unmodified clean opinions Again, an unmodified opinion is expressed when we've concluded that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. I do like to point out, if you read our opinion, we do provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from a material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud. So again, we're providing reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. We do not test every transaction. We do rely on some representations from management. There are estimates included in the financial statements, and therefore we cannot provide absolute assurance. But again, reasonable assurance is still a very high level of assurance. In addition to the financial statement report, we also issue a report on compliance and on internal control over financial reporting. If you read through this report, we do not actually express an opinion on the town's compliance with laws and regulations or on the effectiveness of the town's internal controls. Essentially, during the course of performing the financial statement and compliance audits, if we identify either a material non-compliance with laws and regulations or a material weakness or significant deficiency in the town's internal controls, we are required to communicate it in this letter. Again, just as a follow-up, in the prior year, we did have 3 findings that we reported in this letter. We had a material weakness in internal control over financial reporting related to the reconciliation of the town's and school district's general ledgers. We have repeated this finding as a material weakness in internal control over the current year as well, and I'll discuss that a little bit more on the next slide. In the prior year, we also issued a significant deficiency in internal control over financial reporting related to the bank and interfund reconciliations at the school district. Again, happy to report that we are no longer reporting that as a significant deficiency in internal control over financial reporting. So again, that finding has not been repeated. And then we did issue a prior year finding, an instance of non-compliance related to some reporting on the ARPA funds. Again, we were not required to test that program in the current year. It was our understanding that that report was filed timely, and therefore we have not repeated that as an instance of non-compliance in the current year. So again, our report on internal control in the current year had 1 finding reported, which we considered to be a material weakness. Again, that related to the reconciliation between the school district's general ledger and the town's general ledger. Again, those ledgers are not currently integrated. Journal entries are required to record and reconcile the activity of the school district with the town. The town's year-end closing process to record the school district's balance and activities were ultimately incomplete. We did have some material audit adjustments that were proposed to record and reconcile that activity. Ultimately, we made the recommendation that the town no longer records balances and activities that are already accounted for by the school district. So again, activity that's already recorded in the school district's general ledger does not have to be duplicated in the town's accounting records. The town should ultimately limit its accounting to transactions that involve direct financial activity between the town and the school district. That would include appropriations, transfers, reimbursements, or shared service costs. In addition, we recommended that the school district continue to provide the town with its monthly financial reports to ensure that the town remains informed of the school district's fiscal status. So again, management's required to address these findings through a corrective action plan. That plan was actually completed and filed with the State Office of Policy and Management. In connection with the audit, we do a federal single audit and we issue a report on compliance on internal control at the federal award level. In this report, we do actually express an opinion on the town's compliance with its major federal programs. For fiscal year 2025, the total federal awards that were expended was just over $1 million. The major program was the Highway Planning and Construction Grant. I believe that was for the Bunker Hill Bridge replacement. We did issue unmodified clean opinions on compliance, and we did not report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses over grant compliance. We issue
Michael,
a similar... Yep.
Can I ask you a question, if you don't
Sure.
mind, because so I don't forget? Can you explain what is meant by a single audit versus
Sure.
what would
So, yep. So
the
there's
alternative?
there are different levels of audits that are required. And under the federal guidelines and the state guidelines, if you expend over a certain dollar of federal awards or state financial assistance, you're required to undergo a compliance audit. And so for that audit, we perform additional procedures to determine that you're complying with the requirements of your major programs. So again, there's a whole set of standards that we have to follow in terms of doing a compliance audit.
Right.
So it's an additional level of audit above and beyond the financial statement audit.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. So again, we issue a similar report in connection with the state single audit. For fiscal year 2025, the total state financial assistance that was expended was about $2.8 million. The major programs was the local bridge transportation fund and then the town aid road grants. Again, we did issue unmodified clean opinions on compliance, and we did not report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses over compliance. So in general, again, clean from a compliance perspective, we really expand our testing in terms of what you're charging to those grants to make sure that it's allowable in accordance with the grant agreement. All right, the next section goes over really your overall financial highlights. This slide covers your general fund budgetary highlights. So your original and final budgets did provide for the use of fund balance of approximately $79,000. Your actual change in fund balance was an increase of about $302,000. So that did result in an overall favorable budgetary variance of about $382,000. The surplus was driven by revenues and other financings, which were about $166,000 more than budgeted. You had favorable collections on property taxes and interest on short-term investments. And then overall, your actual expenditures were about $216,000 less than budgeted. And that number does include the transfer of a portion of the education surplus to the 2% non-lapsing fund. So again, if you didn't make that transfer, your surplus would have been about $86,000 higher. Next slide goes over your governmental fund financial highlights. So this includes your general fund on a GAAP basis, as well as all of your special revenue and capital project funds. The town did report combined ending fund balances of approximately $6.1 million. That was an increase of about $957,000 from the prior year. In terms of your overall fund balance, approximately $2.1 million was the ending fund balance in the general fund. Of that, about 145 had been assigned for use in the town's fiscal year 2026 budget. So that left an unassigned fund balance of just over $2 million, and that represents about 15.5%, and is sufficient to cover about 1.86 months of general fund budgetary expenditures. Again, the GFOA guidance is that governments maintain approximately 2 months of reserves. So again, you're just below that threshold, but you're right up against it. In terms of the capital reserve fund, so again, that does include a number of capital projects which are detailed out within the financial statements. Your total capital reserve fund balance was approximately $2.2 million. Those amounts again are committed for specific purposes. There is a small deficit that continues to get carried forward each year on the transfer station shed repair fund of about $7,000. Again, recommendation is just that ultimately gets funded by the general fund. All of your other funds had an ending fund balance of about $1.7 million. Again, those amounts are either restricted or committed for various purposes. And again, a very trivial deficit in the historic preservation fund. Again, just bring that to your attention as ultimately no governmental fund should have a deficit fund balance. Again, these aren't significant and ultimately should be funded by the general fund or some other sources. All right, and then the last section just includes our required communications. The first item here talks about our responsibility under the auditing standards. So as I mentioned before, management is responsible for the financial statements. It's our responsibility to express our opinions on those financial statements. In terms of the plan, scope, and timing of the audit, again, no changes in the overall scope of work that was performed. There were 4 one-month extensions that were obtained from OPM. Those delays were attributed to delays in commencement of the audit field work, really due to scheduling constraints. I do, want to make mention in terms of municipal auditors. There's definitely a lack of capacity for that type of expertise. Out of the 169 municipalities that do file their audit, over half of them file them on extension. So again, I think probably last year only 40 municipalities were able to file their audit reports on time. So part of the delays is, yes, we start the audit field work in December. Our hopes is typically to get that done by the end of February, except there were some additional delays related really to the transition of town finance personnel. In terms of significant audit findings, again, typically highlight whether or not there's any new accounting standards that impacted the financial statements. Again, there were no new accounting standards that were implemented in FY25 that had a significant effect on the financial statements. Do need to disclose that the financial statements do include some significant estimates and judgments. Those consisted of estimated useful lives that are assigned to capital assets, the discount rates utilized to determine your net pension and OPEB liabilities. Those are really at the state level. And then estimated amounts of vacation and sick leave to be used in future years. We did review those estimates, and we did deem them to be reasonable with industry practices. Happy to report that there were no significant difficulties encountered in performing the audit, other than some of those transition issues. We did issue a separate management letter containing some other audit recommendations. However, we're not required to specifically communicate those to the board. I did want to make you aware of them, that there is a separate management letter that we did issue, and we'll follow up with those recommendations during the next audit. There were no uncorrected misstatements.
Can I just ask who that letter went to?
So it goes to town management.
Town manager. Okay.
Yep. So there were no uncorrected misstatements. We had no disagreements with management. We did obtain a management representation letter. There were no unusual representations that we requested by us for management. So, example, I just give the board, if we were testing a transaction and we were unable to substantiate that transaction through some kind of third-party evidence, we would disclose that to you if we were relying on a representation from management. And we're not aware of any management consultations with other independent accountants. Again, if management did consult with other accountants, we would be required to understand that communication and also communicate it to the board as well. And that is really the overall overview of the audit. Again, all of our communications are included in our reports, but again, happy to answer any questions that any of the board members may have.
Well, I have a few that I have written down. Obviously, some other board members who couldn't be here emailed some in, and I'm sure the other board members will have their own or want to piggyback on mine or what have you. My first question for you, Mike, is, back to the material weakness, the one material weakness I think that remains regarding reconciliation with the BOE. Can you, and understand I'm a layperson here, can you explain to me the why and the, maybe a little more detail on how you came to this recommendation, what's driving this, and what can we do better?
Sure. So in connection with the audit, obviously, when you look at the financial statements, there's a lot of information. There's various funds. There's different components within those funds. So in this case, the Board of Education has their own separate accounting system that they utilize. They're recording all of their activity within that accounting system. The town is essentially funding the Board of Education to cover those expenditures. In this case, the town historically has tried to ultimately mirror the activity within the town's general ledger, which again just creates issues from an overall reconciliation perspective. So my recommendation, and what I've seen other districts do, is that ultimately the town accounts for the appropriation that they are providing to the Board of Education, and then the Board of Education's accounting system stands on its own. So when we come in and do the audit, we'll audit the Board of Education's accounting system as opposed to the town system. So in this case, the town had recorded entries to try to reflect certain balances. And again, those balances just were not complete. It's not to say that you can't do that. I just think it's a more effective and efficient process to handle it the way that we're recommending.
Okay, so just to follow up to that, are you personally are comfortable then with, on the BOE side, on the Andover Elementary side, with their reporting and their financials? You're good with that, and it's basically, stop trying to recreate the wheel.
I mean, that's the recommendation.
Okay. Okay, so that was my first question. My second question you've largely already answered, but I just want to go back to it really quickly, which has to do with our unassigned fund balance and where we are in terms of fiscal health. We're about, at least at the end of this audit, about 15.5%, which isn't quite 2 months, as you pointed out. The guidance is 2 months. In your opinion, should we be looking to yank that upward to that 16? Would it be 16.67 to get to 2 months?
The only requirement really is from like a rating agency perspective. So rating agencies, if you're gonna go to the market to issue bonds, they will look at your unassigned fund balance as part of that overall rating process. I think in Connecticut in general, we typically see fund balances between 10 and 20%. I think the rating agencies in general will say that Connecticut maintains a lower percentage, but I think there's reasons why economically that towns do that. So again, from my recommendation, I would always defer to the GFOA that you would look to get about 2 months in your unassigned. However, again, there's going to be some flexibility there. And I think from a town of Andover's perspective, you need to assess, okay, what's the likelihood of some kind of significant impact that we would need our fund balance available to fund. So I just think of, hurricanes, severe flooding, those sorts of things. Certainly towns that would experience those may want to have a higher fund balance. But again, I think your fund balance is within the reasonable range.
Okay, thank you for that. That's pretty much what I thought, but I wanted to hear it laid out for me a little bit. Okay, and this may be a little repetitive, but is there anything in particular that we can do to make the audit process smoother, to make your job easier going forward, beyond what you've recommended in this document?
No, I mean, I think in general, as I mentioned, the actual audit work for us went fairly smoothly. We didn't really run into any significant issues. I mean, obviously there was some transition in personnel. Yeah, but again, I think in terms of audit entries, the majority of our material audit entries really related to that reconciliation between the school district and the town. So, to answer your question, no, I think things went well.
Okay. All right. I have one more question that I'm going to come back to at the end, but I'm going to open this up to the rest of the board because there are other questions and other people and I don't want to monopolize. So, other board members, Board of Finance, go ahead and chime in and ask your questions, please. Oh, and by the way, Liz, before you start, do you want to handle or do you want me to do the questions that came in from those of the board who couldn't make it?
Yeah, you can do it. That's fine.
Right. You do you, and I'll pull up those emails so I can do it. Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
do me.
You do you.
You had recommended, and you'd recommend this before, that the school furnish us monthly financial reports. Can you be more specific about what we should expect to see on a monthly basis?
From a Board of Finance perspective?
Yes.
I mean, essentially it would be the same information that's being provided to the Board of Education from a financial perspective.
Okay, I'm just wondering if you could define specifically what we should expect to see.
So
In your
I mean,
opinion.
yeah, if I was a board member, I would expect to see budget to actual reports. And that's primarily, I think, from a board, what you're looking for is you want to understand, is there any potential for the Board of Education to maybe require an additional or supplemental appropriation during the year. Again, it's more of a high level oversight responsibility. Again, the Board of Education is really the one that's responsible for overseeing the finances of the school district. But again, there typically is reporting that is done from the Board of Education to the Board of Finance in regards to their fiscal status.
Right. Yeah, that's why I was just curious about your opinion, what other, what you see of other districts, and we want to have reasonable expectations, I guess.
Right. And again, I think from my perspective, if that information is being provided to the Board of Education on a monthly basis, then obviously it's something that can be provided to the Board of Finance.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Are you good, Liz?
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Because I have Kim's email up. She had a number of questions, so I'll just go through them. Okay. So I'll just start. She's got 3 here. The first one was, it was recommended that we see all the bank statements from AES. How does he recommend get them monthly? To date, we have not seen them, so that is a full year of not seeing them. There are 3 to 4 accounts, I believe. That's the question. We do get monthly reporting from AES. There is some disagreement as to the level of detail provided and so forth. So I don't know how familiar you are with this disagreement in town, I guess I would put it. But again, I guess this is really piggybacking on what Liz just asked you, which is, what is and is not reasonable? What level of detail is and is not reasonable for the Board of Finance to get on a monthly basis from the Board of Ed? I mean, you said budget to actual.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a budget to actual report. I don't think there's any requirement that bank reconciliations be provided to the Board of Finance. Again, the recommendation in the past has been that maybe there's ultimately the treasurer would review the bank reconciliations that are prepared by the school district. Again, just as an oversight control, and making sure that, again, the bank accounts are being reconciled on a timely basis. Again, I don't think that's necessarily required, but it could be considered a control or a best practice.
Okay. Second question has to do with pre-K. Does the auditor recommend that AES break out the pre-K into a separate budget so we can see it functioning and operating on its own? It is being handled as its own entity, and we're repeatedly told that it would be easier to sort it with a standalone budget as well. No, sorry, we were repeatedly told that. So it seems it would be easier to sort it with a standalone budget as well. I think this would be helpful to everyone. Now, this is a point of disagreement in town. So right now, I don't know how familiar you are with this. Right now, we have a full-time pre-K program here in town. It's funded, at least largely through grants and tuition. It's not reflected in the AES budget, right? So whatever financial reporting we get does not include that really. And this has been a bone of contention. So do you have an opinion on, and in your experience with other towns, can you opine on that?
So just to be clear, I haven't necessarily been asked to give an opinion on that. So I would have to do some due diligence with respect to that. I can tell you that with our other municipal clients, again, this hasn't come up as an issue. The pre-K is accounted for separately from the operating funds. Typically they're grant funded, primarily grant funded, but they also receive some tuition fees as well. There are grant requirements from the state regarding that program, where the school district can only carry over tuition fees of 2 months to the next fiscal year. So again, the Board of Education has requirements, and the school district has requirements to ultimately spend those funds on pre-K. That's ultimately why I think it typically is accounted for in a separate fund. And again, there are restrictions on terms of how they use those funds and how much they can actually carry over. And again, all that information, although not necessarily broken out, is included in the Board of Education's special funds, which are included in the financials.
Third question. Many school systems put grants into their budget on the line item it pays for. This makes it easy for BOF and the public to understand what is happening financially. Can we get an opinion on this process or a suggestion? In Andover, it's been said that we pull the expense out of the budget if it's grant funded. That's about right. We do that on the town side too. This seems and is very complex to sort out for me. And, basically, all right. So I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit because it goes on for a while, but we do this on the town side too. There are a lot of things that we don't reflect in our budget because they're netted out. Basically, we get a grant, we get grant funding, we get state aid, whatever it is, and we don't display it, at least in our budgetary documentation, not necessarily in maybe what we give you guys, but what we show when we go to town meeting or what have you, whether it's town aid road, whether it's some grant that the school got for a particular service or what have you. Do you have any thoughts on, the best practice in terms of displaying that information, sharing that information, tracking that information?
So I think from my perspective, our clients, my experience with our clients, and again, we do audits for over, 20 municipalities, from smaller municipalities such as Andover to larger municipalities such as like New Milford and generally speaking, they do not record, or they typically do not show those grant funds within their budget. However, there'd be nothing that would restrict you from doing that. So to me, that's really a budgetary policy. And again, the question would be then who sets that budgetary policy? Is it the Board of Finance or is it the Board of Education? Because ultimately the Board of Education is required to provide to the town their net request from local approprications.
Right. And
I don't know.
Yeah, in the past, the way
Yeah.
that we've done it, frankly, on both sides of the ball, if you will, is that we tend to net things out and not display it all. Right. I mean, there's a case to be made, and I guess it's just a judgment call. We get town aid road money and we put that towards our road spending. We show neither the incoming revenue nor that outcoming expenditure because it nets out. I've been kind of kicking that around and questioning whether we should do it differently. And you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, that it's fairly common to do it the way that we've been doing it, which is not displaying it.
Correct.
Is that fair? Okay.
Correct. Yes. I mean, in general, that's consistent with the other municipalities. I'm sure there's probably examples of municipalities that maybe do it that way. And again, that's not a reason not to do it. Really, I think it's up to the boards and the town.
Well, Michael, just as a question, just on this, is in going through the audit, you have all of the fund balances broken down, and you have a balance sheet and a issue. You show revenues and expenditures. It's a question of are any of those funds lumped with different grants? Like you have a school grant fund, I believe it is. And the question is, should that be broken down in more detail? Because you do show those numbers.
It certainly could. I mean, you could from a financial reporting purposes, you could break down the pre-K separately from the other state and federal grants. I mean, there's no restrictions on what you present or how you present it.
Because if the members of the board look at the audit and you're looking at pages between like pages 60 and 70, 60 and 80, there's revenues and expenditures on all of the funds, and it's almost like you're doing the income statement and the expenditure information in the audit in that section for all of the funds. So when you go to Town Aid Road, there's a Town Aid Road fund in here, and it will go through and expenditures. The board might want more detail, but it is there, Rob. So like it's there for everything. It's just a question of how much breakdown.
It is there, and you know, and I think we've talked about this before. You know, it's nice to have it in the audit. I don't disagree with that at all. It gets you to June 30th of last year, you know, and you know the question is, well, what's in these funds now, you know, and that goes from. I mean, we were talking about AAS, but that goes across the board for me. And what is reasonable for the Board of Finance to seek and obtain, and without it straining the finance department of either side, you know, either the town or the Board of Ed, you know, in terms of reporting on these funds, in terms of their balances as we roll through the year.
Yeah, and that
Can we
that
do it
is
quarterly? Could we?
no. You should
You know, monthly.
from a town perspective, you should get that on a monthly basis. And the treasurer is on vacation, but we're working toward that. You're going to have those. We've been doing some work on the QuickBooks so that it's easier to sit there and navigate because it's a little bit clunkier than we would have liked than when we looked at it. So you're going to get that. You're close, Rob. So all the numbers that are here in this audit are now on the balance sheet for the town. And Michael, I'll just ask you one question because I've been going through this a lot in the last week and a half. When you report on the balance sheet of the general fund, that includes all of the bank accounts for the town, not all of the bank accounts, but the operating account for the town, the investment account, the STIF account, and it also includes the AES operating account because it's part of the general fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So the other funds, the other bank accounts that the school operates, which are the lunch and the student activity and the grant fund, are reported as separate funds on your fund report in pages 60 through 80 of the financial statements, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Those are all included in the special grant funds.
So just so you guys understand, and the audit comment related to how the previous treasurer was trying to record the transactions in the system is trying to get to an ending monthly balance so that she could sit there and have her balance sheet kind of work out. And she was not successful in doing it in the manner that she was doing it. The current treasurer has, we've scrapped that and we're working toward finding a better solution with information that's provided monthly by the school so that you guys can get that information because that balance, that real balance for that operating fund has to be reported on the balance sheet for the town because it's town funded money, right? So, and we will come out with a solution. We will not have that on the next audit. So
would it make sense? So would it make sense for the AES to send reconciliations of the AES operating account to the town treasurer on a monthly basis?
Is that question directed at me?
Yes, Michael, sorry.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think, you know, I think the treasurer could play a role in terms of some oversight responsibilities by reviewing, you know, the monthly bank reconciliations. And that should also, again, help assist them in reconciling any activity that they may have processed on behalf of the Board of Education as well. And again, I know we've discussed that in the past, and I think part of the issue is the timing of that. So when would that reporting get done? And so again, that's really kind of an internal decision as far as, you know, when it gets finalized.
I'm sorry, am I allowed to ask a question, Rob?
I was literally gonna ask if there were other BOF questions, and then I was gonna call on you, Kate.
So I'm just more confused now because I read the audit report and I thought the report specifically states that you don't recommend the town and school reconciling on a monthly basis. And yet that's what people just asked if we should be doing. And so now I'm more confused.
So
Can-
it's
can you
not,
just re-explain?
yep, sure. It's not reconciling the activity in terms of trying to duplicate what the Board of Education is recording on their side, but rather, for example, just a simple reconciliation in terms of we funded the AES account X number of dollars during this month, and we can see on their side that they've accounted for that transaction as well. So
Okay.
ultimately, it's that activity that you're looking to reconcile.
Okay, so really you're just looking to reconcile like an ACH transfer from the town to the school account.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
Well, that's not exactly the
Speak.
truth. Just a second, because Michael, the reconciliation that we're talking about really is bank reconciliation. So you're reconciling the bank and then you're funneling information over to the treasurer who's responsible for the financial statements of the town. And that's all that's being asked for, right? Because the issue that the auditor wrote the town up for, and I will explain it as clearly as I can, there was check registers provided or check information provided to the previous treasurer, and the previous treasurer was inputting that information into a bank account for the school and trying to come up with what the ending bank balance was at the end of a month, the real bank balance at the end of the month. And it was causing a lot of confusion within the system. And Michael was perfect. I totally understand why he would not want that to happen. But you got to understand that there's a cash balance that is held at the school that is part of the town's financial statements. It's on the audit right now, this last audit that I'm looking at. And it's not broken down because we don't get all of the detail. So just
Jeff,
telling you,
yeah, I understand what you're saying now. Okay, I get it. So that cash account is maintained on the school district's accounting system.
Yeah.
And it is reconciled by the school district.
100%.
So
Got it.
I don't think part of the recommendation is not for the town to necessarily capture that same cash account on their accounting system.
Absolutely not.
Effectively, it would flow through an interfund, if you will, until the end of the year, and when ultimately the surplus is determined. Separately, I think from a reconciliation perspective, so you have the school district, they're maintaining their own operating account, they're doing their own reconciliations. Absent the town taking over that responsibility, I think providing the treasurer with the bank reconciliations, so that she can just oversee and say, yes, okay, the things are reconciled. We don't have any significant issues or concerns from that perspective. That would suffice from an internal controls perspective, right?
That's all it's been asked for.
But again, I don't think, Jeff, I don't think you have to have an AES cash account on your trial balance.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to just also clarify that after I reconcile the bank accounts, I am sending over the M&T bank statement to the treasurer. So just so people know, the bank statement, not the reconciliation, but after I have reconciled it, is going to the town treasurer, just for information out there. For the M&T bank only.
I guess the question I keep trying to come back to is, okay, vis-a-vis what we're doing now, what our current process is, what is the change, if any, that's actually required here to quote unquote strengthen internal controls? I think that's the terminology you guys use, Michael. In terms of what we get now, what Jody sends us now. Jody's the finance director at the school. I'm sure you have worked with her, right?
Yep.
And what's being asked for? There's a gap, I guess. And, there has been a proposed change to how this process works. I don't know how familiar you are with that, if you've been informed at all. And I just sort of want to know if you have thoughts or opinions on, kind of, again, best practice. Are we doing okay? Do we really need to change things? What's the story?
So Michael, about 3-4 months ago, I started. No, wait, I just got to ask you. You want to know if he was informed? He was informed. I talked to you about funding the school account as transactions were needed, and we talked about would it work, would it wouldn't, what would it cause, and the concept was to sit there and attempt to make it a zero balance. Really, have it funded for 100,000, but have zero balance. So he was informed. What his opinion on it is his, but I am telling you that I did sit there and speak to other individuals related to this.
Great. And so now I kind of want to hear his thoughts on this, because my basic concern here is, and I'll just lay this out so everybody who's listening to this meeting can understand what my perspective is. My perspective is, I love interest income. I love the STIF account. I want to make more interest income. That's great. I'm all for it. What I don't want is to gum up the works and put hurdles up internally that could cause us a problem that's worse than whatever interest income that we might derive from a new process. That's really my core issue here. Are things going to still work smoothly so that the school can pay its bills? But the stated purpose here was to make more interest income, which, hey, I'm all for. So I'd like to hear Michael's thoughts. Michael, if you've been read in on this, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
All right. Yeah. So I did have a conversation with the superintendent as well as the first select person. And again, I'm aware of the issue, and I'm aware of the sensitive relationship between the Board of Education and the town. Again, conceptually, I have no issues with the town implementing a cash management policy that maximizes interest on behalf of the town, right? When I look at what kind of took place in Andover, from a procedural standpoint, I would typically look at state statute. I would look at the town charter, right? And state statute and town charter do not address everything. And I'm going to tell you that they do not address specifically this issue. And there's no cash management, requirement that needs to be followed. So it's an internal issue. And so when charter doesn't address it, when statute doesn't address it, my recommendation is that it be a board policy that addresses it. Ultimately, I think the Board of Finance has fiscal responsibility with respect to the town, and therefore I would recommend that the town have a cash management and investment policy, and ultimately that gets approved by the Board of Finance, and then that would provide the parameters for which the administration would set procedure and follow, right? So again, there are more ways than one way to handle things. The question is who ultimately has the authority to make those decisions, right? And again, I'm not saying that the Board of Finance has to create procedure. It would be more of a cash management policy that certainly could include how the Board of Education, again, the largest component of the town's budget, ultimately gets funded.
Yeah, I mean, we had existing policy, and that policy is very simplistic. No question about it. It's very, very simple, right? 10 equal payments for 10 months. Say you get a $4.7 million budget, roughly, it's $470,000, every month. And I can understand why one would say, well, look, $4.7 million budget, and I'm fudging that number, just bear with me. It's a lot of money, and we can make interest on that money. So I hear that. But maybe what needs to happen here is another tri-board meeting where we try to sit down and hammer out a process that everybody can be comfortable with, that because I think the concern here is that there'll be some holdup and the Board of Ed will be unable to pay a bill. And that's the concern. That's my concern. It's, I'm all for earning more money. I want that. In fact, that
Well,
STIP account's been wonderful for us. So,
yeah, if you're in a position where the Board of Ed can't pay a bill, then I think you're probably bumping up against statute, right? So
right. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want us to get anywhere close to that. But I also love the idea of maximizing our interest income. I think that's a perfectly reasonable goal. But I don't. From the standpoint of what is reasonable to require for the funds to be distributed, I think that's where the rubber hits the road. I think that's the bone of contention. What is required to get the money over there? In the past, it's just been, okay, it's July. Here's your money. Here's your 1/10. Here's your $470,000, whatever it is. This would change that and put a few more hoops, if you will, to jump through. So I think that's the concern. And I am I am not at all against the idea of trying to earn more interest income. I just want to make sure we're still running smoothly and we don't run into problems that are created trying to eke out a few more percentage points on our interest. So
Rob,
what
do
I'm
you
hearing
know how
from
long-
you, if I understand from you, and I'll wrap this up and I'll turn it over to others, is this is really an internal call. This is something we have to hammer out between ourselves. There's nothing that says one way or the other that this is either verboten, nor is it required. It's, it's a judgment call. Is that correct?
100%, yes.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna shut up because I've been talking too long. Other board members, please chime in. Also, if there aren't other Board of Finance members to talk, we have the Board of Ed here. I'd like to keep them involved.
Rob, can I just ask you a question? Because I know you've been on the
Sure.
Board of Finance for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it always was. You can correct me because I'm not sure. It wasn't always that we did 1/10.
No, it wasn't always. I think that was hammered
How
out
did it
only,
used to- Yeah, how did it
I
used
don't
to
know, 4 or
work?
5 years ago. It's off the top of my head. It's been a few years. It was something that Val and Eric worked out between them, I think.
Okay.
Um,
But
and I don't
prior to
recall
that-
how long.
So
And I don't recall
prior
what we did before
prior,
that, honestly.
prior to that, again, the town shared a bank account, so all the checks were being cut from the same bank account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's sort of it in that the money wasn't segregated in the first place.
No, because it's town money.
Okay,
Right.
Jeff, that's
Okay.
fine.
So,
What I'm
so
saying
anyway,
is-
I'll give you the history lesson just so you can get
Thank
it,
you.
right? All the way through, I'd say 2019, let's say, the town and the school used the general fund, the general operating account. And to be really honest, when I got on the board, the ability to reconcile that account was very poor. They were using Phoenix, and the school had their own Phoenix account, and the town had their own Phoenix account. Everything was running through the town's general fund. When the decision was made to move to Edmonds, we had hoped we would have one file for the entire town, and we would run the Board of Education and the school and the town out of the same file, but we were unable to do that because the software couldn't handle it. So when that was determined and we'd already made the decision to go to Edmonds, I got together with Eric and Valerie, and we decided to allow the school to have their own operating account because it would allow us to reconcile. Each entity would allow it to reconcile properly. And I've hoped, and Michael will tell us, at least we've gotten closer. At least the town I know within QuickBooks definitely has reconciled much, much more effectively. So that's the decision that was made probably 2019, 2020, something along that lines. And so it's gotten, and then at that point, just so you guys all understand, there was no interest rate, there was no earnings, so it wasn't really a big deal. Now it's a deal. Now it means something to the taxpayers. So it's something we're going to all have to address. And yes, I'm driving this, but it's not because of anything nefarious or I'm trying to. I mean, I haven't made one comment ever, just so you all know, about expenses at the school. Other than the budget, that's it. Now I'm done. I can't tell the Board of Education what to do. You can't tell the Board of Education what to do. They can do whatever they want with their funded balance. But we can all sit there and fund things in a little different manner because it's still town money. It still gets reported on the financial statements under the general fund. And we need to sit there and manage it in the best manner for the benefit of the town. So anyway, that's the past history. It was all commingled. We broke it out 2020, 2019, and we had individual accounts so we could reconcile.
Right. Again, I do think breaking it out was very beneficial. Again, given the part-time nature of the positions in Andover, anytime there's a reconciliation issue and now you're dealing with, okay, is it on the school side? Is it on the town side? This way, if there's a reconciliation issue, okay, it relates to the Board of Education or it relates to the town. So from that perspective, it's made things, more transparent from that perspective.
That actually raises an issue I was thinking about with this. Is it in theory? I know she's been working way more than this as we bring her up to speed and try to sort everything out. But in theory, Lisa's a 1 day a week employee, right? So would the assistant treasurer under this proposal have the authority to release the funds? Jeff, is that your thought?
There's dual authorization, so there always has to be two authorizing people within the town's current banking setup. So there would be it could be the assistant to the treasurer, and the town administrator.
Okay, so two of those three to release the funds.
Yeah, but you got to understand what the transaction is. The transaction is a piece of paper that says this is the amount of money that is required. You put it through an ACH transaction and you process it. It's done. It's not something this is not something to bother Michael with his time. You can ask him all your questions you want to sit there and see if he wants it or not. But the procedure of how to do it is not necessarily, we're wasting his time.
Well, I apologize, but I have a subject matter expert in front of me. I'm going to ask him questions. So, and if I wander off the reservation, all right, so be it.
Michael, am I very far off as far as the process of processing an ACH?
No, that's.
I'm just asking.
I can't tell you how to operate, from a town perspective. I can give you the guidelines that you kind of have to follow. And that's why, again, from my perspective, something that would address all of this would be actually having a board policy that addresses cash management and your investment policy. And so that includes, Jeff, I think we were talking, what is the policy of the town in terms of interest that is earned on funds that are in a special revenue fund, right? There's no requirement that interest be.
No, and that was one thing that I would ask you. All those special revenue funds really shouldn't get interest earnings. The town
again. I'm going to tell you that would be a policy decision, right?
Yeah, and then you have the funds, you put them in the non-major permanent funds, all of the investment funds, the Norton Children's Fund, the Norton Library Fund, the Norton School Fund, the Sprague Library Fund, the Irene Mooney Fund, the Brown and Brown Fund, and
any donor
all need to get interest, and they would be getting more interest now that we do that. So the Norton School Fund gets a dividend check from the Bank of America. So all of those would have to be calculated separately based upon the total interest earnings for a given month or a given period and be dispersed among those funds in a separate transaction.
And just to be clear, you're talking only about the charitable funds, but if it was AES money that was sitting, and they were holding or whatever, you're not talking about accruing interest there and applying that to AES's budget or something.
We don't have those funds. And I don't have those funds. The town doesn't have those funds. So the school lunch fund and the student activity fund and the grant fund are not
Jeff, I
town.
believe he's talking about like the capital
Right.
fund or the other individual funds for
No.
different departments, as opposed to the interest being applied to the town general fund.
There's that too, but that's part of it, Caitlin. But no, I wasn't just talking about that. I'm saying if you're holding back, instead of saying, okay, we're going to give you your money at the first of the month, 1/10 of your budget, we're going to hold it until you give us, documentation that you need it. And we earn interest on that. I think the idea here, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, is that the extra interest income we earn is just going to accrue to the town.
Correct. You have a
Just
problem?
wanted to know.
That's with that?
Just asking the question.
I mean, all of the funds that have currently had bank accounts, all of these small funds that have had bank accounts, that if you look at the financial statements, there's a small interest earning that gets applied to those funds every year within the audit. All of that shouldn't go there. That should be, it's like earning, it's like, I mean, it's an earning vehicle for the town to generate income to offset taxes for the residents. All of those small interest add-ons don't need to go to those funds. The only funds they really need to go to are the permanent funds that have a charitable component.
Charitable requirements.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norton.
So
just wanted to be
if you're asking me, Rob, if I'm going, you're thinking I'm trying to isolate this to certain things. It's every fund that the town has, inclusive of anything for the school or for the town. The only interest would go to those permanent funds that are charitable, and that's it.
Just wanted clarity on that.
Yep.
We can all make our judgments about it, but I wanted to be clear on what we're proposing here.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, I do have one question for you, Michael. You said something before. You said there were some special funds that you provided some other guidance on. Is that accurate? Did I mishear you? I might have. I thought you said there was some type of special fund.
No, outside of charitable donor funds,
Yeah.
where there's a restriction. Any of your other funds, again, it would really be board policy. For example, we have municipalities that made the board policy that, their capital and non-recurring funds would earn interest, and ultimately that would reduce the town taxes in future years by reducing the amount of contributions that the town has to make into the capital non-recurring. So, there's kind of elements to why, ultimately I think a policy would make sense, because then, ultimately, you have a board sets policy, and then the management of the town kind of operates within that framework.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And again,
So-
it's because there's more than one way to handle these things.
No, totally. And but there are no other special funds that you do any other special reporting outside of the financial statement documents. That's all. That's what I was after. I thought you had said something about a school fund, specifically a Board of Education special fund that you did some reporting, but it was not included in the town audit.
Are you referring to the agreed upon procedures engagement that we do for the school district? So they have reporting that they do with the Department of Education, and so we have to do additional procedures over that reporting.
Okay.
But that's not included in the financial statements.
It's not included in the financial statements. Okay. Well, it would be interesting to see what that is. I mean, and who that gets shared with, but that's for some other time. Forget that. I'll just note it down.
Yeah, that's ultimately, it's a report that goes to the State Department. We file it with the State Department of Education.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do other members of the Board of Finance have further questions or follow-ups or anything like that? If not, I'll ask the same of the Board of Ed members who are here. And if not, we maybe can let Michael go. So,
I just have one question for you, Michael, if that's okay.
Sure.
I know that a lot of like regional districts, school have their own STIF accounts. Are there other towns where the school that you're aware of where the school has their own short-term investment account? Or are those typically only held on the town side?
So those are typically only held on the town side. I don't know, and I think this was a question that maybe was asked a while back when there was consideration of whether or not to invest those non-lapsing funds in a STIF account.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, I don't know offhand if we have. Actually, I can say that we don't have any municipalities where the STIF balance is being confirmed by the Board of Education as opposed to the town. So I think typically the STIF accounts are established under the town or a regional school district, but not necessarily under the Board of Education, like a local Board of Education.
Right. But in terms of like if we wanted that money to also earn interest as well, there's nothing preventing it from going into a separate STIF account, correct?
No. No, I think you would just have to probably work with the town treasurer in setting that up.
Okay. Thank you.
Because that would be interesting if we put the AS capital money in a STIF
Yeah.
account.
Already in a STIP account, I think.
Or aggregated it with everything else but tracked it.
Yeah, I think the issue really is more in the interest earning potential and whether or not the interest that's earned is equated to the fund that's earning it versus going into the town general fund. And that would be across the board for like any fund that you're talking about.
Right.
And really, I feel like that's more a Board of Finance decision on policy.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Again, I don't think you're going to find anything in the statute that addresses that specifically.
No, I mean I've been through the statutes. I don't. They're not that specific. They're just not.
Heather, didn't you have a question earlier? I thought no. I thought you started to ask a question and got cut off or something. No.
I think I did, but now I can't remember what it was.
Okay. Sorry
I
about
hear
that.
you. It's been a
Oh,
long.
I think I was just going to ask because I just kind of missed it that there's a separate management letter that went out about something else about the audit that we don't see. Is that what that separate letter was about?
Yeah, it's not that you can't see it. In fact, I mean, I would encourage management to distribute, but ultimately, our requirement from an audit perspective, if we identify what we consider to be a significant deficiency or material weakness, we're required to include it in our report on internal control over financial reporting, and those findings require a formal corrective action plan to be completed, communicated to the Board of Finance, and then also submitted to the Office of Policy and Management. During the course of performing the audit, we will often, identify other recommendations that we may make to management. We have the option of either communicating those verbally or, via written letter. And again, in this case, we actually, issued a written letter. But there's no requirement for us to specifically communicate those findings to you. That doesn't mean that you can't, obviously review the letter and have communication with management. You can certainly do that. And there's actually an electronic audit reporting system with the state of Connecticut through Office of Policy and Management. All municipal reports, single audit reports, management letters, corrective action plans, all that stuff gets uploaded to the state and is publicly available information.
Okay.
So if we went to the OPM website, we can find it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, just to
That's good to
interrupt there, I did that when I received that. I did send it to Rob and asked him to forward it on to the rest of the finance committee.
Did I
Okay.
miss? I ought to look at that. I'm going to look for that email. I may have missed it. My bad. What date was that, Matt?
Let me go check.
Thank you. Because I thought I was caught up, but again, I was screwing around with this new laptop, so I may have
This was
fallen
sometime.
down on the job. And if that's the case, mea culpa.
I had one more question.
Sorry, you'll have that letter by tomorrow, the entire board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had another question. You had said that we should see like every month the budget to actual from the town, I think, and the school, like just in total, or really detailed, or it doesn't matter as long as we see budget to actual?
Yeah, I mean, again, ultimately it's up to the board. I mean, as the Board of Finance, what information do you want to see that gives you some comfort over, the Board of Education? Because ultimately, if they need a supplemental appropriation or something along those lines, the Board of Finance should be aware of that, right? So it's, again, you're not necessarily going through that like you would on the town side, but it's more of a kind of a general oversight control.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to know, and we talk about this on the town side sometimes. When we go through our budget to actual on town side, we see an item that's tracking well above, where we are in the year, and we're thinking, we may have an overage here. Do we have to pull from contingency? What are we dealing with? And we can ask the question of, say, the town administrator, now that we have one, or the treasurer, or whoever, to say, what's going on there? What do we need to do? And that makes a certain amount of sense. It's just, the argument here is basically over the level of detail. And again, as I understand it, your guidance is essentially, well, within reasonable parameters, it's a policy decision. It's a decision we have to make within our town. And I expected you to say that, but I was curious to hear if you had specific thoughts from other towns that you work with that you think work well, because look, you're the subject matter expert here, and I thought we might as well ask these things of you.
Well, we have an answer, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions is, I mean, again, anytime you're getting information, what are you doing with that information? What purpose is it serving? Again, the Board of Education, as Jeff mentioned, I mean, they're responsible for the oversight of, the fiscal requirements of the school district, right? Again, to the extent that it ends up impacting, the town from a larger perspective, again, the Board of Finance needs to be aware of that, but they don't necessarily need to be in the same level of detail as the Board of Education. But again, from my perspective, it would be easy just to say, okay, these are the financial reports that we're providing to the Board of Finance. We can also provide those to the Board of, to the Board of Education. We can also provide those reports to the Board of Finance. Again, because I don't think you want to say, well, we don't want to look at anything, right? we don't want to be aware of anything. I think you do have some responsibility with respect to understanding how it may impact the town.
So the other thing we look at on a monthly basis is our monthly check register, and we're able to go through it line by line and stop and ask, okay, what is this? What does this mean? What was this for? And in terms of the Board of Ed, that's something that I don't see them doing. So that, like, if they went and did that and that was in their packet and that was something they went through each month, that would be something that would make me feel better. But I don't see that happening. So when we talk about, a detailed, like, bank statements, I think maybe what we might get is a summary sheet, maybe. And I know it's not up to us to tell them how to spend the money, but I would expect at least them to be looking at, performing a process similar to what we do for the town. And if that doesn't happen, that kind of makes me want more. Kind of makes me want to see more. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, and that would be a discussion point with, ultimately the superintendent and the board. We do see in some boards of education where they have like a fiscal subcommittee where, a smaller group will, maybe who have a little bit more financial expertise will meet to go into the financial statements into a little bit more detail. Again, not required. So my point is that, there are things that you can do to address issues, but none of these things are required necessarily by statute or charter.
Okay.
I mean, some towns, I got into this with the folks in Scotland, they don't even have a Board of Finance. But what they do have is a finance guy on the Board of Ed. Like, instead of a Board of Finance, because it's such a tiny town, right? So they have a designated finance person on their Board of Ed, and that's kind of their role.
Oh.
So it really varies town to town, you know, and what we decide to do, we have to figure it out between our boards and make it work in a way that I just don't want there to be additional friction. I want it to be smooth. That's my goal. But anyway, Michael, again, anybody else has questions? Michael, otherwise, I'd really like to let him go. He's given us a lot of his time.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Anybody on the Board of Ed? Anybody on the Board of Finance? Jeff? Anybody?
I'm all set. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Rob, just, again, if any of the board members have any questions, again, I just, please, filter them through the chair.
Okay. And, you and I, at some point, we should chat when we get the next audit underway. I don't think you and I have ever really sat down and talked, and I think we should probably do that, in December or whatever, when you're working up the next audit.
Sure. Absolutely.
But
right.
thank you for
very
your
much.
time, sir.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Michelle. Oh, yeah, Michael.
All right. Where does that leave us? Let's pull up the agenda, shall we? Town Administrator's Report. AES Bathroom Renovation Update. That is the next thing on the agenda. Matt, what do you got?
All righty. So just to let everyone know that we had a meeting yesterday morning, and the project's moving along. They've got all the rough plumbing in. They had their inspections. They passed the inspections for the plumbing. They finished patching the floor with concrete, and they're about to put up some additional partition walls for the bathrooms. The plan is on schedule. The next step would be they're going to do some painting. They'll be doing the walls, and then at some point they'll have the tilers come in to tile the bathrooms, and then they'll put the fixtures in, whether they be the urinals or the toilets for two things. And there's also the swaps, I guess, the mop sink in the room between the two. So everything is on schedule. I think that the overage was about 35,000, and I think there was also the air testing for another 4,500. So those should be solid numbers. I know that Kate was on the call as well.
Yeah,
So.
I do have the actual for you. So it's
Okay.
it's 36,761 is the total overage right now. About 30,000 of that is attributed to the removal of the asbestos piping and the safety testing after the fact. And the remainder of that, so like roughly close to 7,000, was change orders that they needed, various change orders like concrete and some other small things that added up to about $7,000.
Okay, I was literally, my question was, how are we doing on the asbestos? All right, so that's sorted.
All set.
That's done.
Yeah,
Okay.
all done.
I mean, that's one of those things. I mean, life throws you a curveball. It is what it is. There was asbestos there. What are you gonna do?
So yeah, believe it or not, like the end of next week is already going to be August. So we're already the timeline is short, but there's high confidence that it'll be done in time.
Good to know. Okay. So do you have other? I mean, I don't know how much detail the rest of the board wants. You do a report for the Board of Selectmen. I know you had a whole whiteboard of your activities. You want to give us just some highlights about what's going on?
Just due to the lateness of the hour, I'll try to make it short. We did get some news last week and then this week that our IT person, we are doing an intermunicipal agreement with the town of South Windsor. They also cover, I believe, Hebron, Bolton, and Coventry. Well, South Windsor's decided they're no longer going to be able to provide that service, so the town's going to have to be looking out for themselves. They sent their town council voted on Monday evening to put that in effect. So basically, the end of October, actually, I think it's like October 21st, we'll be on our own. So we'll be working with our sort of a transition for the IT. That's sort of like a sort of the biggest thing that sort of jumped up the board. Still working on some of our dime DOT payments for the two bridges. We do have a significant amount of money that we're waiting on. And I was in contact with them today, so we're working to get that so that we have the money flowing. Let's see here. We're going to be starting looking at easements for the Basula Road project. That'll be next year's sort of, even though it's like not a bridge project, more of a culvert project, but that'll be significant. There'll be some traffic detours going in there.
Is that the solar? Is that
Matt, can I ask you?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Go this.
Sorry. Did you? Oh, yeah. About the easement situation, is that just so I can imagine this in my head? Is this like a matter of asking other property owners if they can temporarily pave over their yards or something for the cars to get through?
Yeah, for one homeowner, there's going to be a temporary road that's going to have to be built, and but some of the other ones there's like 3 very small permanent easements, and then there's going to be other temporary easements, including the one that would be kind of significant for the owner that's on the corner there. There's going to be some moving of some bushes or trees, and the town at the end is going to make sure that it's as better than it was before. So.
Okay.
This is an access issue.
I walk by there a lot.
In order to get in
I walk
there
by
and
there.
do the thing.
I didn't hear the question.
Sorry, I was going to say this is an access issue, right? Like in order to get our equipment in to do what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
go ahead, Liz. I apologize. We were.
Hold on. Thank you,
Rob and Liz. I'm here, all the time. So if any of the other finance committee members want to come in, I just due to the lateness of the hour, I don't want to go into too deep, but I will provide a much more detailed list, and then I can answer questions. I'll send that out hopefully in the next week, and then you can reach me before the next meeting. All righty. Unless somebody has. All good?
All good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. So this would move us on to our old business, budget actual, check register, donation requests. So budget actual and check register, folks. I spent my time preceding this meeting looking at the audit report. I did not spend my time looking at the check register. So if people have questions on that, I don't think we have Lisa here tonight.
No.
So I don't know how productive it'll be, but if people have questions that we can mark down for later or something, let's do that now. Like I said, I was focused on the audit. I really wanted to get my thoughts together on what to ask Michael. But if anybody has questions they want to raise regarding the check register or budget to actual, now is the time to raise them.
Yeah, so I was looking at the budget, at the financial, the profit and loss statement, and I did highlight a couple things just to ask about. And one is in the town garage area, and maybe we've had this answer before. It's over by 290% in the fuel oil. Did we talk about that before?
I feel like we did. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. See if my recollection makes sense. Is that we had a lock-in up to a certain gallon amount, and then we blew over that?
Yeah.
Is that correct, Matt?
Sounds familiar.
Due to the large amount of storms and sanding that was going on, it was a typical year for usage, and Rob is correct. Once they reached the threshold of the number of gallons that we had bid for or allotted for the bid, then we're sort of on spot payment, which, as you know, the cost of
we were at like $2.39 or $2.49 a gallon, and now we're probably paying $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Okay. I remember that now.
There's also a significant amount of billing that needs to happen related to the diesel fuel, to the school, to RAM, and a small amount to the fire department. But
Because we had that issue with the software, right? Or rather, the whole system.
The machine.
We had an issue with the pump, but that is a secondary thing. So what Matt told you, plus that line will come down when the billing goes out to the organizations. And I'm not sure if the treasurer has got that done yet.
Okay. But
Okay.
that had to do with the fact that we had a system fail, right? And we were having trouble. We had to manually track.
We have a problem for the month of April, but we'll get through it. There
Okay.
might be some estimates, and the town might eat more than it should in the month of April, but we'll sit there and deal with it. But then it's got to be billed. So,
Yeah.
the school buses and the big trucks for the town are the ones that consume the majority of the diesel, and so you got to bill it. And so
Yeah.
I'm just not sure the treasurer's billed it
We'll get reimbursement is the point.
for a portion of it. Yeah,
Yeah. Understood. So it's a little higher than it probably will end up being.
correct.
Got it.
Okay. And I also saw that we're over in legal assess.
Is that
So
our
town attorney,
We
assess
talked about
legal.
that one too, didn't we, last time?
we had a dispute going on, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
we had the issue with the NECOG had in
Animals.
I guess
Mm.
one of my predecessors I guess I had them take some dogs and some frogs and chickens, and there was a long legal battle that unfortunately we had no control over the use of the attorney, the law firm that they were using, and the bills just going out and out and out. So
Okay. Yep. That's coming. And then I think there was one more. So the Veterans Committee. What does the Veterans Committee do? And I mean, I see it's over. It's like $275, but
I'll pay it. I'll pay it, Liz.
No, what is the is that just the monument? Like,
there's the Veterans Monument on there. I don't know if there's a Veterans Committee line.
there is. At Veterans Committee, it's under boards and commissions.
It could be for the Veterans Day celebration. So I don't know. But we can look at that. We can get you the summary of the transaction so we understand what's up. I will tell you one thing, looking at the audit, what some members of the Board of Finance can do, and I think it would be very good, is we have a tremendous amount of funds. And it would be great to do a quick, small synopsis of the funds as to what they are and to move some of those funds on. Like he's talking about the transfer station shed project that went over budget by $7,000. We have to fund that and get that off the financial statements. There's a bunch of those things that just need to happen.
That fund should just go away.
Yeah, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
So this budget cycle, it will not be there at the next audit. So,
I'd love to get those number of funds down.
But there are some funds there and some dollars there that we need to have an understanding, a global understanding of both boards, the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, as to what those funds are for and what we should be utilizing them for and how we can sit there and, as Rob says, get rid of. There's about 6 pages of funds, and it would be nice if we could get down to maybe 4. So,
if I can interject, Rob.
Yes.
Okay. I know I've had a conversation with Rob here and at the Capital Improvement Projects Committee that one thing I noticed that we haven't done in a few years is a annual report. I know that it's the charter says it's something that the select board is supposed to do, the Board of Selectmen is supposed to do, and that I'm supposed to assist. I think some of these things would be great to inform the public if we can incorporate that. I know that Kate the other day sent out to a department that they need to start getting up their reports. I think we're going to try and get that in effect. And so I think that just to put years out there that, we are trying to do this. And I think whatever financial information, the more we give to the public, the better we are for the budget season. So I just want to let the other finance members know that.
Yeah. And actually, in terms of, and I know you and I kicked this around when I came down to town hall and talked to you, is even if we don't track in our budget documents, all of our grant money and expenditure, right, where we net things out, we can talk about it in an annual report. Like, hey, we funded town roads at 385 this year in our capital budget, right? But we spent X, 500, yada yada, right? And we did these roads. Isn't that great? That kind of thing. But yes, we haven't done that report in years, and we need to get back to it. It would just be, I think, a good process for our town to get back to, because to feed into that report then raises all these other, you're gathering all this information. So yeah,
Thank you.
totally agree. Totally
The
agree.
other thing that I noticed, which kind of made me scratch my head, was the community garden was over budget by $386. I mean, I know it's not a lot of money, but it's 110% of their budget, 111% of the budget they spent. I don't know what they.
That will
I mean, I can
that will
check
get
with Lisa.
that will get applied. If you want to know, that's one of the funds there. There's a community garden fund with $1,600 in it. So we
It's
won't
a
be on
fund?
budget. Yeah, it's a fund.
It's probably something.
Oh,
We have a lot of funds. This is exactly it.
Yeah. We'll and
So
when I say
basically-
listen, when I say $1,600 as of June 30th, 2025.
2025.
I still have to look at what's in the financial system for this year, but if it's $300 over budget, we can move that $300 and lower the fund balance, and they're now in budget.
okay.
Budget.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. That was pretty much the only things I pointed out there, and I don't think I didn't really see did we even get the check register?
No, I don't see it.
I didn't see it.
See profits and loss, and then we go straight to the school
Right.
board, the school board request for the snow blower,
Okay.
which I can speak to, obviously, as our representative on CIP. So I got wind of this a few weeks ago. Apparently, last year during the winter with all the snowstorms, the AES snowblower broke. And the first thing they did was check with Public Works to see if they had anything that could cover them, or if they could buy a used piece of equipment or anything like that. And the answer was no. So then they went out and they got bids for a replacement. And they came to CIP with these bids, one of which is apparently a very good piece of equipment, according to one member of our board, Ed, I think his name is, who did some research on the piece of equipment, and it's on, it's at a discounted price. It retails at $4,500, and they're asking for $3,900. And we talked about it at our meeting. It's the low bid of the three, and unfortunately the school needs this piece of equipment because Public Works can't cover them. They've got to do it themselves. So they're asking us to release up to $4,000 from their capital account to purchase this particular piece of equipment, this snowblower. So CIP voted unanimously to recommend Board of Finance bless that and go ahead and do it. So, I mean, I don't have any personal expertise in terms of snowblowers. I've always had a plow guy. But from what I can tell, this is supposedly a good piece of equipment. Just to be clear, the last one was something like 17 years old, the one that died. I forget the exact the date, but it was in its teens, in its late teens. It was getting ready to vote. So we're in this situation where they need a piece of equipment, and they have the money in the capital account, and they ran it through CIP. So if anybody has further questions, I'll do my best to answer them, but I don't claim any expertise.
Yeah, if I can just add, Rob, Matt here.
Yeah,
the reason it went through capital projects is that initially they were thinking this was going to be about a $7,000 piece of equipment. So it was like, I don't know if what the threshold is. I think that was assumed it was a $5,000.
We haven't changed it. It's like $3,000 or $4,000. It's crazy.
But the prices came in, obviously much lower, and it's a good deal especially with if we're going to pick it up. There's a discount too. So,
we're going to send a town truck, right, to go get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the other factor. Thanks for mentioning that, Matt. I mean, yeah, the reality is that this is a fairly local business. We can just go get it. That's helpful. So, um, so yeah.
That's my only
questions, Liz? Do you
my question is, does this qualify as a capital purchase? Our the definition in our purchasing policy says capital purchases, equipment and projects with an estimate of $15,000 or more.
Yeah, and then
Estimate
there's
cost
another
of
one,
15,000
like,
or more,
yeah,
or a leasing cost of 5,000 or more per year. So
mean-
I'm just saying we have a purchasing policy, so I figured I'd look at it. That's all.
yeah.
And
No,
that's
completely,
the definition.
completely fair to do. And my thought would be like, I asked them to run it through CIP. Like their initial
You what?
thought was, I asked them to run it through CIP, to the Capital Improvement Committee, because I thought, you know what, that would give everybody some more
Visibility and
comfort with it, you know. And yes, it's a small amount of money. On the flip side, and I don't disagree. I mean, this is the thing with capital stuff, is that honestly, when I sat down to try and write a description of what is and is not capital, it's funny how fuzzy that can get. It's true that it's possible you could argue that, well, they didn't even need to go through the capital process on this, but they'd like to take it from their capital account. The money is there. It is a piece of equipment. I think it's a perfectly reasonable request. They're not blowing money on something dumb. So my recommendation would be that we approve it. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Technically, according to our purchasing policy, I guess they didn't have to do any of this. They could have, utilized their budget, but obviously their budget's tight. And, I would just say, in my personal opinion, this is what the capital account is for, even if it doesn't meet the exact definition that we've written down. It's a piece of equipment for the upkeep of their grounds. So that's my take. Others can opine. Have your say.
are we bringing this to a vote tonight? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, the ask is that we approve it tonight.
Okay, and what was the exact amount of money?
Well, it's 3,900, but the easy way to do it is just to say approve up to 4,000 from the AS capital account for the purchase of the, what is it, Price and Son? I don't know how to say it. I remember during our meeting there was a way of pronouncing it, but the piece of equipment that they're specifically asking for, which I believe is $3,899, is the actual number, but 4,000 is the nice easy way of doing it.
So I would make the motion that we approve the $4,000 for a snow blower for AES to come out of their capital funds to pay for the snow blower.
Yeah, I'll second it. Yeah. So do we have further discussion? Anybody, this is the time. Okay. Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. I think we only have 5 of us. So, well, actually, wait, is Nick even here? He was
here.
before.
Yeah, I see him.
I
Oh,
was
okay.
eating, so I went off camera. Sorry.
There you are, sir. Okay, Nick, you're up first.
I'll say yay.
Heather?
Yes.
Liz?
I'll say yes.
Thank you. I'm a yes. Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? No, Kim and Louise are not here, right? Wait, is Louise here?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thanks. Sorry. Again, apologies. I'm still getting used to this laptop. Okay, so I believe we're 5-0 on that vote. And AES may go ahead and purchase their snowblower, which they need for the end of the year, which is good. Okay. All right. That brings us.
Hey, Rob, one thing. Can you make sure that motion gets to the treasurer's office so she knows what to do with it when it comes over to them?
Oh, you want me to send an email to Lisa?
Yeah, or when the minutes come up, just the motion, just trying to get the process together of yes, it got approved and this is where it's supposed to go. It's not being said by me or Matt or whatever. It's the authority of the Board of Finance to sit there and do that, right?
Okay. So if I ask Kate when she does the minutes to
Yeah,
CC
Lisa.
Lisa.
Mhm.
Okay. Fair enough. Good point. Very good. Okay. So liaison reports. Well, we just did CIP. Anyone else got anything? I don't think anything else been going on, but
I was on the school call this morning, and I think Matt did a great job of updating everything, and Caitlin, so nothing new to add there.
okay. Okay. So, all right, where does that leave us? Let's take a look. Approval of meeting minutes, 6:24. Are they in the packet? They are. Here they are.
I found some corrections.
Great.
Aha. We have a new Liz.
No, I'm sure Liz found more than I did.
Actually, I didn't. I
Okay.
didn't look that. I mean, I
Good
skimmed
job,
it.
Heather. Let's do
All
it.
right.
I skimmed
Walk me through it,
Thank
Heather.
you.
What do you got?
All right. The
Thank
first
you,
thing
Hel-
4A,
Yeah.
I think that first sentence needs to just have a period after them, I think, right?
Wait. The 4A. Master Studio provided updates, spoke with superintendent regarding bathroom project.
Types have possible asbestos wrapping on them fiscal year. Shouldn't it,
Yep.
shouldn't it be them, period?
Them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Proceed.
I'm trying to channel my Liz. I'm finding them all.
Yeah, go for it.
And then I wasn't sure about it said we're going to have Kim on the Board of Finance for the union negotiations, which we did.
No, that's a
talk about
mistake.
then,
We changed that to Liz.
right? Like, yeah.
I saw
So-
that too.
Yeah.
I saw it too. I think it's documented properly in the
Yeah.
notes. I think that it
This is the
wasn't
way it
until
happened.
It wasn't until later we
wasn't
talked about
until-
it, so I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
Yeah,
not
no.
wrong because this is the reality. At the time in that meeting, as you walk through the meeting, that is what we did. And then only at the end, we were like, wait a minute. So
Joanne came out and said that there was a
Yes.
issue
Yeah.
because
So
of families, so we discussed it.
the minutes accurately reflect that point of the meeting. It's just a
Right.
question whether it reflects it at the end. Yeah.
I
Proceed.
think maybe number 11 needs to be clarified that I think maybe number 11 needs to be clarified.
Maybe there should be an 11A and 11B where subsequent to 11A board
Yeah.
discussion, decision,
Yeah.
to the extent that
That-
there was a conflict, Liz will fill in. Yeah,
Yep.
something along those lines.
Yep. But good catch. I caught it. We're all catching it.
Yeah, I
No,
read it
that's
and I was
exactly
like,
right.
well,
It's funny because it does reflect what happened, but
Mhm.
right at the end, it gives you the false impression. Yep.
okay. The last and 4A, the next to last sentence, it says 2 select members reigned, which I don't think they did. I think they resigned.
Oh,
Resigned.
correct.
All right,
Yep.
we'll fix that.
And then 4B, I said, the second sentence, I think some items moved in space. I didn't know what that meant.
It's been completed. In your meeting is basically.
Oh, I think I know what that means. It's a little confusing, but I think I know what it means.
Which
Didn't
which
they have
sentence
to
are you-
move a
Uh,
door slightly?
Third, I guess. The third sentence.
Oh,
is-
some items to move in
items
space.
to moved in
Moved in
space. Yeah, that's not right.
Small
Some
motion.
items to be moved in space,
What does that mean? Moved in space?
or to be moved. Maybe
Yeah.
dropped in space.
Some items in the space, maybe the
wasn't it,
space they're
Bill?
working at.
Bill, wasn't this the thing where they had to move a couple of items within the bathroom, like a few inches or something, to make
Yeah,
it?
the urinals had to be moved, like, I think it was either
Oh, right.
3 or 4 inches one way to accommodate some piping. So, yeah,
I think that's what that means because Bill gave us the update at the time. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Due to space requirements, the urinals had to be moved. Didn't cost anything to do it. I don't think it was just a move.
Right. So yeah, items to be moved instead of in the space, you just apart like items needed to be moved or fixtures, maybe fixtures.
Yeah, urinals fixtures need to be moved slightly to
The
accommodate
in
plumbing.
space, the in space was confusing me, but I get it
Yeah.
now. I remember talking about it.
Yep.
Okay, and then the last one I had was 8E, where it says motion carries 4-3 to 0, with Liz, Kim, and Louise voting no, but then motion carried 7-0-0. That can't be
Motion
right.
carried, period. Not zero. Yeah, good point. That's not how that happened. Okay.
Wait, which one are you looking?
wait.
Oh, which one are you looking at?
8E.
Sorry. Yeah,
If four, if
Oh,
3
8E.
people voted no, it didn't carry 7-0-0, right?
The motion carried 4-3.
Oh, wait a minute.
Zero.
Wait. Did we? No, is this the correction though?
Motion.
That we made 7-0.
Wait, let's motion to accept the May 5th special budget meeting minutes with a correction
Oh, is that
in the
what?
footer
It's a correction. That's
and
why
a
it's 7-0.
correction to the motion on page 4 to reduce the AES budget by 50,000 to
We had
to
I
change it
remember
to
this-
motion carries.
I
Right, so
remember
we
this
changed
now.
that, right.
We
We
had the
corrected that
wrong
so that the motion
people
carries
voting
4-3. And then we voted
7-0
on this
to fix.
correction.
7-0. Right.
That's right. The 7-0 is the fix because we had, if memory serves, we had people listed originally voting on the 4 and the 3. Like we had Louise on the wrong side and like Heather on the other or something like that.
Right.
I think that's what we fixed. So I think the
should
7-0
it
is
say,
actually
like,
okay.
Should it
It's
say
the
like?
It's the motion to the correction.
Yeah, motion
Yeah.
to correct carried 7-0.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
To make it clearer, that's fair.
That was all I had.
Awesome.
I make the motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Very good. All right, I'm gonna go Nick.
Oh, wait a minute.
Approve.
Wait a minute. Did we? Oh,
Sorry,
I'm
what?
sorry. Did
You
we
seconded.
correct 11? Did we correct 11B?
11B.
Did we make that clear to the note person
All right,
that we're
hold on.
gonna?
11B. 11B. Wait, what?
Yeah, we're like so public speak where Joanne had
Yep.
mentioned.
Oh, we need an
the
11A and
conflict.
11B. Right. We need
Yeah.
an 11A, which is Joanne's public speak, and an 11B board discussion. And I think
Oh, it
I don't
says-
think we actually voted. I think we just talked
Oh, well,
about
actually,
it.
it says board will address this concern outside of public meeting, which I guess we did.
Well, sort of.
I
I thought we did correct
We
it
discussed it right then and there.
right then and there.
Happened. It was just we
No,
didn't. I don't think we took
were
a
almost
vote.
closed.
We
Wait,
just said,
we were almost ready to close out, and I said, "Wait. What about Joanne's concern?"
yeah.
And we all kind of talked about it, and Liz, you said, "I'll do it," and I don't think we actually voted it. I don't know if we voted.
No, we didn't. Well, what I said, I remember very specifically. What I said was, it's not clear to me that the specific union involved here involves the conflict. If there is a conflict, if the union covers a family member, then Liz should step in. And I think basically people agreed with that, but we didn't hold a vote on it. We just kind of went, okay, and ended the meeting because I think we were tired. So that's really how it went down. I think that's a reasonable outcome, but that's what happened.
But it should be documented.
yeah.
There should be a sentence in there documenting
Correct.
that.
Board discussion regarding Liz Lochik as liaison instead, or something like that. Does that make sense? How would you phrase it, Liz?
I guess I would say the board discussed Liz Lokech stepping in case of
To the extent conflict of interest
conflict.
exists.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. Correct.
Because it was
Yeah,
very
the
much
extent,
to the extent, right? Like we didn't
right, to the extent
know.
and, yeah,
Yeah.
to the extent a conflict exists, Liz volunteered
Yes.
to step forward.
Right. Liz volunteers as board liaison or whatever. That I think that's a good one. Oh, Kate, I hope you don't hate us when you look at this recording. In any event, I know I think that's the right call. So we do 11A as the public speak and 11B as that.
I don't know if it needs to be an A or a B, or just another sentence.
Just it needs to be documented one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just say add another sentence or another paragraph with more discussion.
Kate's
More
discretion,
discussion.
as long as it's properly documented, I don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
Works for you?
With that,
With
with those changes.
Where are we? Do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes. Seconded by Liz and amended again, and now we can vote.
All right, lots of friendly amendments here. Nick?
I'm going to go with yes.
All right. I'm a yes. Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Okay. That's all of us, right? Am I missing anybody?
We're missing Louise and Kim. Yep.
Right, exactly. So 5-0. Very good. Okay, so that's the meeting minutes. Very good. Board open discussion. I mean, honestly, I don't have anything at this time. I think we've talked about a lot, but if you have anything to bring forward, now is the time.
I would just like to suggest that a tri-board meeting probably is due to be had at some point and planned so that we can come up with a policy that is our purview, the Board of Finance, to come up with regarding the school, a couple items with AES.
Yeah.
Whether or not just proposals are going to go forward, how we're going to handle the stiff account, all of those issues that came up tonight. We should have a tri-board meeting to address these things and to set a policy. I don't know when that's
Yeah,
going to happen.
and the year's wearing on, honestly, before you know it. So September, October would actually be a great time to have such a meeting. So
I think
I'm
October's
looking
when we did it last time, right? It's a good time of year for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the charter even says nowadays that
Yeah.
we need to have one. So
Yep.
we should look at maybe targeting October, August, September, October. So September or October, or both. Honestly, if we can pull together a tri-board meeting, I think that would be helpful to our town. I agree with you, Bill.
Maybe next time we can all have some dates in mind. I know I'm traveling 2 months in October out to Idaho, but I might be able to, I might be able to do
We'll
it
see.
on the road too. We'll see.
We'll
If I can use
see.
my son's computer.
You won't be Kathleen. You'll be someone else.
I'll be Matt DeRosiers.
Yes, excellent. No, we should definitely talk about that. And I know we have new people on the board of selectmen. We got to meet them and talk to them and fill them out for what they want to do. And so I think it just makes sense to try and schedule something. So let's keep that in mind. I agree.
What time frame are you traveling, Bill?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I don't know the exact dates. Can we have that? Thank you. Have that ready for next time in August to have dates proposed. And maybe
Sure.
the board of selectmen can think about it, and this whole board can think about it and look at their schedules.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't know the exact dates.
It's all
I
good.
think it's the last 2 weeks, like the last week of October and the first few days of November, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's 21st. I think we fly in the 21st of October, back on the 4th or 5th or something like that.
Speaking of this, the other thing scheduling wise is I can't remember the last, when we scheduled our meetings, our Board of Finance meetings for when we make
26,
that
27.
decision once a year. I can't remember when that runs out. I was looking in my phone and I was like, that's weird. I don't have anything past July. Now that may just be a mistake on my part, but I'm not sure if we've got all our dates nailed down going forward. So we should think about that. I mean, typically we're the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Wednesday of the month.
But we should, I think next meeting, maybe talk about our schedule.
Okay.
make sure that we've got that sorted and we're all clear on it and we can all plug it into our calendars and all of that.
Yep.
Okay.
Correspondence. Let's see. There was an email. Whatever. Anyway, I'm still just sorting out my town emails. I've got it working. Finally, I had to battle with my computer. So as you may know, I had an ancient laptop that was just about to die on me. So I have switched to this machine, which is much better, but I hadn't logged in on it and I had to do all this stuff with it. So I have only recently got back into my town email and caught up on everything. So apologies, but I'm a little behind on everything. But I don't see anything that's necessarily flashing red. We've got the audit report stuff that I just think I forwarded to everybody from Matt. If anybody else has anything to bring forward, let's do that. Otherwise, it's getting late. I'd like to go on to public speak.
I said
Once,
public speak.
Twice. Okay, great. Public speak. Let's do it. Scott.
Sorry, screen was away. I'm still just listening. Thank you guys very much. It was a very interesting discussion.
Very good. Caitlin.
Thank you guys for the meeting tonight. It was great to have the auditor here. I think a lot of good points were brought up where potentially policy needs to change that would be directed as Bill stated by the Board of Finance. I think having a tri-board meeting would probably be a good idea. But specifically you guys as a board need to run how you think you want those policy changes to occur, as you would be the ones in charge of that. I can do what we did before and send out a Google survey with a few different dates listed or weeks listed to say maybe which week is best for everyone. And then we kind of do majority to narrow it down. That seemed to work pretty well in the past in terms of figuring out a good date for stuff. But thank you all for your meeting tonight.
Thanks, Kate. Joanne.
Hi, just real quick. I want to thank Matt for bringing up, posting information that could be helpful for the public. Because my number one thing as I was listening to the audit was I thought it was really informative and, really easy to understand. And having listened for many years in a row, it really sinks in. Hoping we can post the audit for, I believe that was for FY25,
Yep.
so, we're a year and a half behind with that. Understandably, with all of the changes, why this is so late this year, but it could have been so helpful. And I implore the board to just, be on that next year. It used to be about April, and it could have helped, because it is a whole year and some behind. So understandable, it's in July this year, but all of those balances and everything that we want to see, kind of some of the points I was drumming home about knowing what the funds had and could some cuts be made, could really be an intelligent source of information for the town to just look at. So hoping you could do that. I want to just, no, I think that's it. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks, Joanne. All right. I think that's everybody, unless Matt, you have anything further. You're not really a member of the public exactly, but you're here. You're good. All right. So before my brain leaks out of the side of my head, Jeff, can you remind me? I'm sending this email to Kate and to Lisa. We want Kate to send Lisa the minutes when they're done, so that Lisa knows to do. Help me out.
It was capital fund, so that
Just-
we
it just
voted
needs-
to pay
The 4,000. The 4,000.
Just needs to be the
$4,000.
motion that was passed by the Board of Finance,
Got it.
right?
Got it. I was doing the email while we were waiting, and I realized my brain just kind of fried. Okay, great. Thank you for that, guys. So, given all of that, do we have a motion to adjourn? Bill. All right. Any second?
Nobody else
I
wants to go
second.
home?
Oh. All right, Heather, you got it.
Jesus.
I defer to you. All right. Bill motions to adjourn. Heather seconds. I vote aye. Liz.
Aye.
Aye, all the way around. 5-0. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for your time. And we will see you next month. And yeah, next month, let's talk about tri-board stuff and scheduling. All right, everyone. Matt, you can kill the recording. Thanks a lot.